Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro from Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel, and this is my take on the latest WWE Network documentary that dropped on May 13th, 2019. It is called Holy Grail, the untold story of WWE's most infamous unknown match. And it's kind of the documentary on how the infamous Bret Hart, Tom Magee, October 7th, 1986 television taping match came to be and came to light. Now, for tape traders and trade collectors, this match often was regarded as the holy grail of collecting. It was the match that, a lot of people were hoping to have during that day, or during the days of VHS tape collecting and that stuff. And a lot of wrestlers who are in fact big names in the industry and that stuff, and we've seen it in this documentary. Comments from Cassius Ohno, comments from Harry Smith, comments from Tyson Kidd, so on and so forth. Sam Roberts as well, a Sirius XM satellite radio host. They're talking about the importance of this thing, and this is such an amazing story. And only in 2019, I think, and only in the wrestling world could you have a story like this, where a match from a guy that one of the two men in this match would end up being, the big star, the big guy to replace Hulk Hogan, which is, the catalyst of this entire thing, would go on to that. But it wasn't the guy that you thought it would be at that time. A lot of people thought it would have been Tom Magee, but no, it's Bret the Hitman Hart in this match. And this thing comes to light, and the whole story behind it is amazing. WWE did an awesome job in putting it together. The issue I have with real shorter documentaries like this and that stuff is you don't really get the full emotion of a ride that you would with like an hour-long documentary or so. Case in point, the Kenny Omega documentary. I know WWE didn't put that one together, obviously. That was an outside entity that put that together. The Omega Man documentary earlier this year, that was about a 46 minute made for television broadcast documentary for Canadian television. And I still think that they just got the wind under their sails, and then they had to sign off on the broadcast, which is the same thing here. I think this one here kind of had the wind under the sails a little bit, so I would have liked to have heard a little bit more from Tom. I know that was one of the big reveals towards the end of the documentary portion of the program before they showed us the match to kind of end the program. But I would have loved to hear more from Tom, in that setting, and perhaps maybe at the StarCast panel coming up and such and so forth, we'll be able to find out more from Tom and Bret and kind of get their opinions on one another and so much and so forth, because we've heard, and it's written in Bret's book, what his thoughts were of the match and such. Would love to have gotten kind of more in depth with Tom's thoughts of it and see what he would have thought of it. It's one of those really weird but really quirky and really kind of brilliantly awesome parts of wrestling history, and television production kind of quirkiness as well too, is that it kind of teaches the lesson that if you are a content creator, always dub your stuff, because there might be something that you're looking for years or even decades later, and if you don't dub that stuff, if you don't have an extra copy of it somewhere, that stuff might be lost forever. And we thought that this match might have been lost forever, lost to the tides and everything like that, much like the talk of this May 10th 1999 match between Owen Hart and Kurt Angle, where a lot of people are saying now that, hey, this thing's been lost to time because it wasn't recorded for whatever reason, even though cameras were on in arena, and all the television lighting was there for Raw taping and that stuff, just nobody was rolling tape on it. That's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles. With this, we were fortunate enough that they were rolling tape for a talent evaluation purpose, and that's what we got. So my thoughts on the documentary itself, I'll give the documentary portion, like I said, an 8 out of 10. I would have loved to have seen it kind of draw out a little bit more. I would have loved to, seen kind of more interplay amongst the two the two subjects, Bret Hart and Tom Magee, in it. But I thought that with the time that they were given, it was a lot of fun. It was a very interesting, kind of eye-opening program for sure. And I really enjoyed that documentary. It'll definitely be up for documentary of the year when the end of the year awards for this channel end up being decided. As for the match itself, you do see a lot of the urban legend information in it that we've been told throughout the years and that stuff. You do see, especially with the one spot where Magee does the backflip out from one corner into the other, why Vince McMahon could have, just said, "Oh my God, there's my next champion right there." Is a guy 6'5" who can pretty much do like backflips and chiseled, great body, awesome hair, rugged good looks, you name it. Doing all these moves and looking powerful over, a really greasy, slimy heel, in which Bret Hart at that time, one half of the Hart Foundation with Jimmy Anvil Neidhart, and yes, Jimmy Hart as the heel manager is at ringside during this as well. You can see, but just knowing what we know now, a lot of that match, probably about 100% of that match was put together by Bret Hart, and it's even explained in there, Tom, give me your best free moves and we'll work them in. And, just flawless. It was, for a talent evaluation match, I don't think it could have gone any better for Tom, for sure. And they talk about it a little bit later on, why it fell apart for him and everything. It definitely isn't the All Japan Tom Magee that we are watching here, for sure. This is the, kind of fresh out of Stampede right into WWE rings, Tom Magee, which is, the best, I guess, version of himself and the best he would be in the ring at that time. And Bret Hart just on that ascendancy too. So by 1986 standards, it's a match of the night contender for sure. By today's standards, probably would be a really good opening match bout. Let's just put it like that. Right, folks, that's my thought on Holy Grail. So if you have a chance to watch it, it's on the WWE Network. Give it a watch. Like I said, it's about 45 minutes or so. Documentary comes first, and then you get a chance to watch the match. Another thing, too, is the front end of the match, you don't see the introductions or anything like that, is cut off. You don't get to see the ring announcements. You don't get to see any of the entrances or anything. Mind you, 1986. Production music wasn't even being used at that point. Heels and babyfaces were just walking out to just arena noise. There wasn't any in-arena music or anything like that. I think maybe Hogan, Junkyard Dog, and maybe a handful of other people in WWF were actually using music at that time. Maybe Ricky Steamboat as well with Sirius and everything. So you're not really missing much there. Just entrances are entrances, but the match itself kind of starts with a long kind of fade-in shot on Jimmy Hart on ringside on his megaphone. So at least that's where the tape picks up. And I caught the gag off the top of the documentary with the tape kind of unfurling in the machine and that stuff. I used to hate when that happens. My VCR ate a lot of tapes back in the day. It's that stupid Hitachi mechanism that had the Hitachi VHS decks were terrible, just god awful. But that's all we had. So alright, folks, later days, happy wrestling watching. Enjoy the documentary. Put your comments about it below, and we'll talk to you next time.